Yes. Well, it is Carrie, but sure, you can say that. Please welcome back to the desk, Lauren's here. Lauren, you are monitoring now.
Yep.
I believe day 3 of the Higgins
This is
trial.
day 3,
Okay.
and I wasn't able to go yesterday. Had
Right.
some other stories to cover,
Right.
but back in court this morning. And I apologize for pulling you out of the brief.
Yeah.
We'll get you back to it.
We will.
I just need to fill y'all in before I go back to court. So starting on the stand today was Chad Kroll, okay? So for a little tiny background here, this case is about Kevin Higgins and his involvement in the Cossacks Motorcycle Club. There he is right there. This is in court. And so we started the day with Chad Kroll, a member of the Cossacks, on the stand. There he is. And he was the Sergeant of Arms, the National Sergeant of Arms, when the murder of Brandon Edwards happened in 2020. So he's kind of the right-hand man of Higgins at the time, if you will, when it came to carrying out orders and missions and basically telling different people to go out and inflict violence or do certain things that would please the national president, who is Higgins, also known as Doc. So it's been a really, really interesting morning of testimony. I have about an hour and a half worth of sound that I'm going to have to go through because there's a lot of testimony about him pretty much doubling down on the fact that nothing went through the club without Doc's permission. Nothing was authorized without Doc knowing about it. So that all, again, kind of comes back to the Brandon Edwards murder that happened in 2020. And just a refresher on that, that was a conflict within the Cossacks Motorcycle Club because there was a split after the Waco shootout in 2015. There's the Ugly Man Cossacks and the One Percenter Cossacks. So Ugly Man Cossacks, National President Higgins gave the orders, smash on sight, which basically means if you see a one percenter anywhere at any time, you must inflict violence or do something. You cannot just let them walk around. Brandon Edwards is driving down the highway. A group of, and he's a one percenter, a group of Ugly Man Cossacks. I don't believe Kroll was with them, but he gave the orders after Doc told him to give the orders, according to the testimony, to follow Brandon Edwards. He was shot and killed on the road.
Yeah.
So he is still on the stand, and right now we're under cross-examination. And I will say there is quite a bit of tension between Chad Kroll and the defense attorney for Mr. Higgins. And I imagine, the two, Higgins and Kroll, had a close relationship for many years while they were both in the club. Now Kroll is testifying against him. And I imagine that probably means there's some sort of rift in the relationship. One other thing that I thought was really interesting was Chad Kroll left the motorcycle club on his own accord about 4 years ago. It was after the Brandon Edwards murder, but he testified that he'd been thinking about it for a few months, if not a year before that. I mean, he said there were just a string of things that happened, and he realized he wanted to get out, which is really difficult to do once you're that high up and in the position that he was in. So eventually he did decide to leave, and the defense attorney kind of was questioning him on that. Did you get kicked out or did you leave? Because there's a big difference in terms of honor, dishonor, protocol, all that stuff, which is really the core of these motorcycle clubs. If you're not following the chain of command, if you're not respecting the protocols, then you can't be in the club. Or there will be physical punishment. I'm talking black eyes, beating up, threats, all that kind of stuff. So it's been a very interesting and intense morning of testimony.
Sounds like it.
And Chad Kroll is also has also been arrested. He's a co-defendant in the case. So, he also faces time in prison, which is a point that the defense has brought up. You're obviously talking because you've spoken with the prosecution and you're going to get something out of this for testifying against Doc. Which is true, right? That's how they get a lot of these co-defendants to actually come on the stand and talk.
Minimize sentencing or some kind of deal.
Right.
Yeah.
Lessen the plea deal or decrease the bond or something like that. So yeah, that's kind of what we know right now.
Wow.
And again, the defense attorney is still going with questioning.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much longer that's going to take. I don't know if we're going to have any more witnesses today or if this is it. But this has definitely been what I would say is the most interesting bit of testimony that we've gotten so far, just because everyone else that's testified in connection with this case before, like yesterday, there were a couple other Cossacks that testified who have also been arrested and are in prison or jail. But all of their orders to do what they did came through Kroll. So now we get Kroll's perspective of who was giving him the orders, or was he coming up with these orders on his own, which is kind of where the defense started their argument, was that everything went through Kroll. So
it sounds like I completely understand the tension then, going back and forth.
And it's a pretty full courtroom too. I mean, there's a lot of people. So.
Well, this is a huge story. It's very layered, and it sounds like you still have a ton of story and questioning to get through, Lauren.
Sounds like it, yes.
Yeah, so we will we'll let you go ahead and get back to court there.
Yes.
Thanks for bringing us the update, though.
Of course.
Once again, Lauren Tier in the Higgins trial. We'll get more later